The ship drifted silently through the dark space, far away from Earth and any other human colony. Inside the control room, the crew was busy watching screens, their faces lit by the soft glow of blinking lights. It was supposed to be a routine mission, exploring new parts of the galaxy. But today, something unusual was about to change everything. Suddenly, the ship's sensors picked up a strange signal. It was unlike anything they had seen before. The signal was strong and clear, coming from a place deep in space, beyond any known star systems. The message repeated itself, a series of strange sounds and patterns that the ship's computer struggled to decode. Captain Harris leaned forward in his chair, his eyes narrowing as he watched the signal data. He was a calm man, but even he felt a shiver of unease. "What do you make of this, Dr. Lee?" he asked, turning to the ship's science officer. Dr. Lee studied the screen carefully. "It's powerful and very precise," she said quietly, "but it doesn't match any language or code we know. It could be a warning or it could be a trap." The crew in the room exchanged worried looks. No one had expected to receive a signal like this in the middle of their mission. The unknown was always dangerous, but this felt different, as if something out there was watching them, waiting. As they continued to analyze the signal, Captain Harris's mind flashed back to an old message from Earth. Years ago, before the ship had left, Earth's leaders had sent warnings about the dangers beyond their star system. They had spoken of strange alien species, some friendly but many deadly. The captain remembered the fear in the voices of those leaders, warning humanity not to take the galaxy lightly. "Captain, I'm getting more data on the signal," Dr. Lee said, breaking his thoughts. "There's something hidden inside it, something like a code. It might be a message from an intelligent species." Harris nodded slowly. "Could it be a call for help?" "Or a trap," Dr. Lee said, her voice low. The ship's crew worked quickly, trying to decode the message before it was too late. The air was thick with tension. Outside the windows, stars moved silently by, but inside the ship, every second felt heavy with danger. The captain moved the communication console and activated the ship's long-range scanners. Suddenly, a red warning light flashed on the main screen. The signal was not the only thing coming their way. The ship's sensors detected a fleet of unknown ships, fast, large, and closing quickly. "Captain," the navigator said with alarm, "there's an alien fleet approaching fast. They're not responding to our signals. We don't know if they're friend or foe." Captain Harris stood up, his jaw tight. "How long before they reach us?" "Minutes," the navigator replied. The crew prepared for the worst. Weapons were powered up, shields activated, and the ship's systems ran at full speed. No one spoke. Everyone waited for the moment when the unknown fleet would appear. Dr. Lee turned to Harris. This could be the most dangerous moment in human history. The captain looked at his crew, all young but brave. "We will face it together. Whatever happens, we don't back down." Outside the ship, the stars began to shift as the alien ships came closer, their dark shapes growing larger on the radar. The tension was unbearable. The message, the warning, and the fleet, it all meant one thing. Humanity had stepped into a larger war, one they never expected. The ship's alarms blared suddenly as the first of the alien ships appeared on the horizon. The battle was about to begin. But the question remained, why had the humans received the strange signal in the first place? Was it a warning sent by the aliens? Or was it a trap designed to lure them into danger? Captain Harris didn't have the answers yet, but he knew one thing for sure. Nothing would ever be the same again. The crew held their breath as the dark fleet closed in, ready to face the unknown with courage and hope. The mission that started as an exploration had turned into a fight for survival against the deadliest species in the galaxy. The signal had called them, and now they had to answer. The moment the first alien ship appeared on the horizon, the tension on the human vessel reached its peak. The dark shapes grew larger, and without any warning, the enemy opened fire. Bright beams of energy tore through space, striking the ship with terrifying power. Explosions rocked the hull as alarms screamed throughout the corridors. The crew jumped into action, trying to manage the damage and prepare for the fight ahead. Captain Harris shouted orders, his voice steady but urgent. Evasive maneuvers. Shields up. Return fire when ready. The ship shook violently with each hit, and the crew felt the power of the attack deep in their bones. They had no time to think, only to act. In the middle of the chaos, Lieutenant Sarah Kane struggled to keep her focus. Her hands flew over the control panel, trying to patch the damage and maintain the ship systems. But her mind was elsewhere. She could see flashes of memory, painful and sharp. Years ago, she had lost her family in a brutal war on Earth, a war that had left her with anger and fear she could never forget. That pain fueled her now, driving her to fight harder to survive. "Come on," she whispered under her breath, sweat on her brow. "I won't lose anyone else." The ship's AI, known as Ares, suddenly spoke in a calm but serious tone. "Warning. An ancient weapon of the enemy is activating. Estimated time to impact, 30 minutes. The room went silent for a moment. The crew stared at the glowing screen, their faces pale. Captain Harris clenched his fists. An ancient weapon? What kind of weapon? Dr. Lee, still at the science station, looked grim. If the AI is right, it could mean total destruction. We need to find a way to stop it, or we won't survive this battle. The crew worked feverishly, running tests and searching for weaknesses in the enemy fleet. Every second counted. Outside, the enemy ships pressed their attack, not giving humans a moment's peace. Then, another shock hit the crew. A message appeared on the internal communication system, but it wasn't from any of the crew. It was encrypted, strange, and sent from inside their own ship. Someone on board was sending secret information, maybe to the enemy. Captain Harris stared at the screen in disbelief. A traitor? The crew looked at each other, suspicion growing like a dark cloud. Who could it be? Someone they trusted? Someone willing to betray all they fought for? Lieutenant Kane's mind raced. Could it be someone close to her? She remembered the faces of her fellow crew members, their smiles and shared struggles. Now, doubt shadowed every moment. The ship continued to suffer heavy damage. Systems flickered, lights dimmed, and the smell of burning wires filled the air. But the crew refused to give up. Every hit made them fight harder, driven by hope and desperation. Captain Harris stood firm on the bridge, his voice calm but full of determination. "We will survive. We will fight. And we will find the traitor among us." Outside the ship, the enemy fleet closed in, their weapons ready to unleash the ancient power Ares had warned about. Time was running out. The crew moved quickly to uncover the traitor's identity. They searched logs, questioned each other, and watched for any sign of betrayal. But the truth remained hidden in the shadows, a mystery waiting to explode. Lieutenant Kane sat alone for a moment in the quiet of the ship's mess hall. Her hands trembled slightly as she thought of her lost family and the war that took them away. She wiped a tear from her cheek and whispered, "I will not let this happen again." Suddenly, the ship's alarms blared louder. The ancient weapon's countdown was reaching its final minutes. The enemy's power was about to be unleashed, a force that could destroy everything. Captain Harris gathered his officers. "This is it. Prepare for impact, and be ready to fight harder than ever." Just as the ship braced for the attack, a message flashed on the screen, a clue to the traitor's identity. Someone on the ship was working with the enemy, and their next move could mean the end for all of them. The crew looked at each other with fear and determination. The deadliest enemy was not just the alien fleet outside. It was a betrayal inside. The battle for survival had become a race against time, trust, and deadly secrets. And in the cold, dark reaches of space, the humans had no choice but to fight for their lives, and for the future of their species. The ship floated quietly in space, but inside, tension filled every corner. The crew worked hard to repair the damage from the last battle. Strange problems had started to appear in the ship's systems. Lights flickered without reason, communication lines went silent for moments, and some controls stopped responding. Captain Harris watched the crew closely. He could feel that something was wrong beyond the visible damage. "We need to find the cause of these malfunctions fast," he said. "If the ship breaks down now, we won't survive the next attack." Engineer Ramirez nodded, wiping sweat from his forehead. He had been working nonstop, crawling through narrow tunnels and dark rooms to check every cable and circuit. "Captain, these malfunctions aren't normal. It's like someone tampered with the systems. It's subtle but dangerous. Harris frowned. Sabotage? Ramirez looked uneasy. Maybe. I'm running diagnostics on encrypted logs from the ship's memory banks. There might be clues. The crew gathered in the command room, watching the engineer's screen. Strange codes appeared in the logs. Strange messages hidden beneath layers of encryption. Ramirez worked to decode them, his fingers flying over the keyboard. Minutes passed. Then suddenly, a message popped up. It was from an old expedition, one the crew had never heard about. The message was short but clear. Danger. Do not trust Earth's orders. The war is bigger than they say. Captain Harris and Dr. Lee exchanged surprised looks. How could this message be hidden from them? What was Earth hiding? Later, in a private room, Ramirez and Harris spoke quietly. Captain, there's more to this mission than we were told. Ramirez said, the secret mission from Earth was never shared with us. It seems they sent us here not just to explore, but to fight a war they expected. Harris's eyes darkened. Why would they hide this? Why put us in danger without knowing the full truth? Ramirez shook his head. I don't know, but I'm afraid that someone on Earth wanted to keep the truth secret, even if it cost us everything. Harris sat back, thinking of the burden they all carried. His mind drifted to a memory, a heated argument among Earth's leaders before the ship left. The leaders debated whether to risk everything by fighting the deadliest species, or to retreat and hide forever. One voice said, we cannot win a war against such power. We should protect Earth first. Another argued, if we do nothing, we lose everything. This is our last chance to show we can survive. The argument ended with a secret decision. They chose to send this ship and keep its true mission hidden. Harris returned to the present, feeling the weight of those choices. He knew that the crew was caught in a web of lies and danger much bigger than themselves. Back in the control room, the crew prepared for the next step in their fight. Suddenly, the ship's lights dimmed. Systems shut down one by one. The hum of the engine stopped. Power failure. Ramirez shouted, we've lost all power. Backup systems are offline. The crew froze. Outside, the radar showed the alien fleet moving closer, faster than before. Harris's voice was firm but urgent. Get the emergency power online. We have minutes before they reach us. The crew worked quickly, but the ship remained dark and silent. The cold emptiness of space pressed against them like a silent threat. The mysterious power failure was no accident. Someone had sabotaged their ship deeper than they thought. The crew faced their darkest moment. With no power and an enemy closing in, survival seemed impossible. The secrets buried in the dark were beginning to surface, and the fight for their lives was far from over. The ship lay silent in the darkness of space, powerless and vulnerable. The crew moved quickly but carefully, their faces tight with worry. Every second counted. Outside the ship's windows, the distant stars seemed cold and uncaring. But inside, the battle for survival had never been more real. Engineer Ramirez and his team worked frantically to bring the systems back online. Sparks flew. Machines hummed with life again, and the ship groaned as power slowly returned. Yet, the damage was severe, and time was slipping away like sand to their fingers. Captain, Ramirez called out, voice strained. We're restoring power to the engines, but we need at least 10 minutes more to get full systems online. Captain Harris stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the radar screen. The alien fleet was closing in fast. Every moment brought them closer to destruction. The ship's AI projected a countdown. 5 minutes. For minutes. 3. His mind flashed back to a memory, years ago, before the mission began. He was standing on Earth's surface, looking at the stars, making a silent promise to his crew. I will protect you all. No matter what comes, I will keep you safe. That promise burned inside him now like a beacon of hope. He would not fail. The crew members whispered among themselves, tension rising. Lieutenant Kane leaned toward Dr. Lee. We're risking everything on this repair. If we fail, it's the end. Dr. Lee nodded grimly. We have no choice. Survival means sacrifice. Someone must hold the line. The captain overheard the conversation and stepped forward. "We all hold the line. Together. No one is alone." Time raced against them. The ship's engine sputtered and roared as power surged back through the circuits. The alien fleet's shapes grew larger on the radar. "Jump drive ready in 60 seconds, Ramirez said, wiping sweat from his face. "Prepare for jump," Harris ordered. "Get everyone to their stations." The crew braced themselves as the countdown ticked down to 0. The ship trembled, engines humming with sudden energy. Then, in a flash of light and a shift in space, the ship disappeared from the stars they knew. They arrived in a strange, unknown star system, filled with unfamiliar planets and eerie darkness. The crew exhaled with relief, until the sensors beeped frantically. "Captain, we're not alone," the navigator said. "Unknown ships detected in the system. They're moving toward us." Harris felt the weight of the universe on his shoulders. The fight was not over. They had escaped one danger only to enter another. The crew looked at each other, fear and determination mixing in their eyes. The race against time had become a journey into even deeper unknowns. And in the silent space around them, new threats waited, silent, watching, and ready to strike. ChatGPT said. The ship floated in the strange star system, its engines humming softly after the jump. The crew was tense, eyes scanning the radar for any sign of the unknown ships that had appeared moments after their arrival. Then, a new signal came through, this time different from the hostile fleet that had chased them. The signal was a communication attempt, in a language the ship's AI tried to translate. The message was simple: "We come in peace." Captain Harris looked at his crew. "Another alien race," he said quietly. "But are they friends or foes?" The ship sent a reply, cautious but hopeful. Minutes later, a ship unlike any they had seen before approached, sleek, glowing softly in the dark space. The humans watched carefully as the alien vessel stopped nearby, and a figure appeared on the communication screen. The alien was tall and slender, with eyes that seemed to hold both kindness and something deeper, something darker. The alien spoke with a voice calm and clear. "We are the Valari. We have watched your kind for a long time." Captain Harris asked carefully, "Why have you come to us? Are you here to help or to harm?" The Valari leader's face was unreadable. "We face the same enemy as you. The deadliest species you fear has also threatened us for centuries." The crew exchanged glances. This could be the help they needed, or a trap. Dr. Lee leaned toward Harris. "There is more to this. The Valari's technology is advanced, but their eyes hide secrets." Harris nodded. "We need to know the truth." As the humans and Valari began to share information, Harris remembered a secret from Earth, talks that had happened years before their ship left. Earth's leaders had met with alien ambassadors in hidden places, trying to make alliances. But those talks were filled with fear and distrust. One memory stood out: a meeting in a dim room where Earth's diplomats argued over how much to trust the aliens. "We must be careful," one said. "They may have their own goals." Another replied, "If we don't join them, we might face destruction alone." Back on the ship, the Valari leader spoke again. "The deadliest species you fear is not just a single enemy. They are part of a larger force, ancient and cruel. Our worlds have suffered because of them." Captain Harris asked, "Then why help us now? What do you want?" The Valari's eyes darkened. "Because our survival depends on yours. But beware, trust comes with price." The crew felt the weight of those words. Was this an alliance or a new danger? Lieutenant Kane whispered to Dr. Lee, "Can we trust them, or are we walking into another trap?" The captain looked at his crew, their faces filled with hope and fear. "We have to decide, quickly. Our survival depends on it." Outside the ship, the stars shone cold and distant. The choice between trust and survival was a thin line, and the humans were standing right on it. The future was uncertain, and the next step could mean the difference between life and death. The crew gathered in the dimly lit war room, the walls covered with maps and holograms of the enemy fleet. The air was thick with tension. For days, they had searched for any weakness in the deadliest species, chasing them across the stars. Now, finally, a breakthrough. Lieutenant Kane pointed at the glowing screen. "Here, Their ships have a vulnerable point in their shield grid. If we strike precisely, we can break through. Captain Harris leaned forward, eyes sharp. This could be our chance to end this war. The crew exchange looks filled with hope and fear. The deadliest enemy was not invincible after all, but the victory would come at a price. As preparations began, Kane's mind drifted to a memory. She stood alone on a ruined planet, the silence heavy after a battle that took everything she loved. Her family was gone, her home destroyed. She had felt lost, broken, but then she found something to fight for, her crew, her new family, and the hope that they could change the future. That hope burned brighter than any star. Back on the ship, the clock ticked loudly. Every moment brought the enemy closer, and the final battle was near. "We have a secret weapon," Dr. Lee said quietly to Harris. "It's powerful, but using it could have terrible consequences." "What kind of consequences?" Harris asked. Dr. Lee hesitated. "The weapon can destroy entire fleets, but it risks damaging the space around us. It could trap us here, cut off from help or escape." The captain nodded slowly. "We need to be ready for anything." The crew worked tirelessly, readying the ship and their minds for the fight ahead. They knew this battle could decide the fate of humanity. Then, the enemy sent a message, a chilling ultimatum. "Surrender now or face total destruction." The words echoed through the ship. Silence followed. Captain Harris stood tall. "We will not surrender. We fight for our lives, our future." The crew's faces hardened with determination. The final battle was coming, and there was no turning back. The cold darkness of space was filled with the roar of engines and the flash of weapons fire. The crew of the ship braced themselves as the deadliest species fleet closed in, ready for the final battle. Captain Harris stood on the bridge, eyes steady but heart pounding. This was the moment they had prepared for, humanity's last stand. The ship shook as enemy missiles exploded nearby. Alarms blared, warning of damage to the shields and engines. The crew moved swiftly, each person focused on their task. Ramirez worked the engine controls, trying to keep the ship stable. Dr. Lee monitored the secret weapon systems, ready to activate at the right time. Suddenly, an unexpected message came through the communications. It was from an unknown source, a voice speaking in a language none recognized at first. Then the AI translated the words. "Stop the fight. The enemy's leader is not who you think." Captain Harris frowned. "What does that mean?" Before anyone could respond, the enemy fleet changed its formation, suddenly pulling back as if confused or uncertain. The crew watched in shock. Then, in a moment no one expected, one of the human crew members revealed themselves as a traitor. Lieutenant Kane's face twisted with guilt as she confessed. "I had no choice. They threatened my family." The ship was filled with a mix of anger, confusion, and sorrow. Trust was broken, but there was no time for regret. With the secret weapon ready, Dr. Lee activated it. A brilliant pulse shot out from the ship, tearing through the enemy fleet's shields. One by one, the enemy ships fell, but the weapon's cost was terrible. The ship's systems began to fail under the strain. The crew fought to keep control as the ship started to lose power. Captain Harris looked at his crew with pride. "You fought bravely. No matter what happens, humanity will survive." Just as hope seemed strongest, a shocking revelation came through the ship's sensors. Another fleet appeared, more powerful and unknown. The battle was not over. The fight for survival had entered a new and even more dangerous chapter. And somewhere, hidden in the darkness, new enemies watched, waiting for their chance to strike.